Hey everybody, I'm Marlon. Welcome to the channel, Marlon's 420. Hope y'all had some great holidays, great Christmas. Hope you're ready for 2025 and us rolling into the new year. We're going to have a lot of fun. So, we're jumping right in. Last episode, we were talking about the Golden Throne, the Emperor, and how ridiculously fucked up that thing actually is. And this time we're talking about a very similar subject that has the two are linked. Magnus the Red, his flight from Prospero to Terra, and his entrance, if you want to call it that, into the Webway. Um, Other big names have done this before, but one thing that I've tried to do or tried to focus on, as some of you may have noticed, is I try and highlight the things that some of the other big names may have not had time to mention, didn't want to focus on, or whatever, especially after reading the books myself and picking up details that I feel like others either chose not to talk about or missed or whatever. But one of the main things when it comes to Magnus and him actually entering the Webway and his flight to Terra and all that is how bad and how fucked up it actually was. So just to set the table right from the beginning, Ahriman and him are on Prospero, right? And Ahriman says to him, oh, Ahriman, however you like to pronounce it, Ahriman says to him, this is not a good idea. We shouldn't do this. This is after the Council of Nicaea. The Emperor has very specifically told you not to be messing with the warp and demons and all that stuff at this level. But here we are. We're in the most, psychically resonant place on Prospero. We've got dozens, if not hundreds, of thralls, aka slaves, all around us, all psychically gifted, and his flight to Terra is literally going to be propelled by their life forces. I mean, these people, that's what they are, these psychers die by the score as he's trying to get to Terra. And then when he finally comes against the Emperor's wards and he's using his power, psychic energy, whatever you want to call it, to try and break open those wards, the thralls back home are dying by the dozen, man. I mean, he can literally feel their life forces just being snuffed out. And that's when he starts having the problem, right? So I wanted to read a couple of excerpts, one from the Outcast Dead and one from A Thousand Suns itself. And this first one is from the Outcast Dead, and it describes the moment that Magnus actually makes his entrance. Here we go. Crackling bolts of energy poured from molten gates, flensing those too close to the marrow. Intricate symbols carved into the rock of the cavern exploded with shrieking detonations. Every source of illumination in the chamber blew out in a shower of sparks, and centuries of the most incredible works imaginable was undone in an instant. So not only is he killing people, like tons of people died when he broke through that gate in those wards, but he's also destroying irreplaceable technologies. No sooner had the first alarm sounded than the Legio Custodes were at arms, but nothing in their training could have prepared them for what came next. And that's saying a lot for the Custodes. A form began pressing its way through the portal, massive, red, and aflame with the burning force of its journey. See, I kind of imagine Magnus here like a red Sonic the Hedgehog on fucking fire, just bursting through the wall. It's terrifying. It emerged into the chamber, wreathed in the eldritch fire that bled away to reveal a being composed of many angled light and the substance of stars. Its radiance was blinding, and none could look upon its many eyes without feeling the insignificance of their mortality. None had ever seen such a dreadful apparition, the true heart of a being so mighty that it could only be encased within the super-engineered flesh. The emperor alone recognized this rapturous angel. Magnus does not look anything like himself. I mean, this literally is like a star has burst through into the throne room, and it's on fire, and everybody's melting and dying, and everything's just burning away. And this wasn't just felt in the throne room, by the way. People all over Terra felt this. And his heart broke to see it. Magnus, he said. Father, replied Magnus. Their minds met, and in that moment of frozen connection, the galaxy changed forever. I mean, a fuckload of irreplaceable tech was lost. And at the same time, many of the people who knew how to use it, make it, and that were being used to establish this path into the Webway. I mean, so many died as he came through that portal. Somebody on Reddit compared it to this. The palace was like a steel box. And to get his message into the palace, Magnus just broke open the fucking box. So I like picturing this isn't just the Primarch, this isn't the beautiful, amazing Magnus that people see as the Primarch. This is his soul basically burning through the warp and coming through this portal on fire and ablaze. This massive being of power. And it's just like basically a freaking nuclear explosion of psychic power in the throne room as he comes through. And I don't think a lot of people realize how like truly damaging and horrifying this was. In War in the Webway, Ra remembers his version of seeing this, and we see it through his point of view. The custodians knew who it was. They did recognize that it was Magnus after a moment. At least some of them. Ra did. But they all still went to work on that man. I mean, they were trying to kill him as soon as he came through that portal. It was impossible to do, obviously. But the custodians wasted no time in trying to kill Magnus when he came through that portal. And the next one I want to look at is from the point of view of Magnus and 1,000 Suns itself. So Magnus had come up to the Emperor's wards that prevented entrance to the Webway. He can't break through with his own power, and another power just happens to show up and offer him what he needs to break down these wards and get into the Webway and the portal. And it just so happens that this great, amazing power is just on hand, ready for him. And, he's so altruistic, this being, this entity, that he's just going to give Magnus this currency of power for free. So that's where we pick up from the point of view of Magnus in 1,000 Suns. Contrary to what most people believed, there was uncorrupted power here in the warp. That's where he is. He's flying through the warp, and he's come across the wards he's wanting to break through to get into the Webway. There was uncorrupted power here that could be wielded by those with the knowledge and skill to do so. Such gifted individuals were few and far between, but through the work of the adepts like Magnus, it might yet be possible to lift humanity to a golden age of exploration and the acquisition of knowledge. Magnus drank deep of the offered power and tore his way into the golden lattice. So Zinch comes along. We know it was Zinch now. Comes along. He's like, hey, man, you seem like you're trying to get in through there. You want this little bit of extra juice that you need? And Magnus is like, yeah, man, you're a good guy. Thank you for that. Idiot. I mean, Magnus has all this knowledge but for that he has not wisdom. He felt its shrieking wail of unmaking as a scream of pain. Without a second thought, he flew into the shimmering passageway, following a route he knew would lead to Terra. A form pressed its way through the portal, massive, red, and aflame with the burning force of its journey. Now, the two comparisons are very similar. It emerged into the chamber, wreathed in eldritch fire that bled away to reveal a robed being composed of many-angled light and the substance of stars. Its radiance was blinding, and none could look upon its many eyes without feeling their own mortality. None had ever seen such a dreadful sight, and their hearts wept. Such a mighty being could only be encased in the super-engineered flesh of the Emperor's sons. The Emperor alone recognized this rapturous angel, and his heart broke to see it. So you see the two details or comparisons of him actually breaking through the portal are almost the same, for almost word for word identical. But the destruction and the death and the just badness of it, yes, I guess you could say he's trying to do the right thing from their point of view, but the cost of doing it alone should have been a hold on, wait type of moment, like Araman was saying. But that's not what he chose. He burned out, I think, literally hundreds of his own thralls, slaves back on Prospero to get this journey done. And it's like this ridiculously powerful entity that he comes across that's in the warp just so happens to show up right when he needs it. And what the fuck do you know? He's got just the power that Magnus needs to get in. Like I said, for all his knowledge and for all his smarts and for all his accumulated, whatever you want to call it, he has not wisdom. The fact that he did this and the way it's described and the amount of death and destruction that comes along with it, I don't think anybody can say Magnus didn't do anything wrong. My guys, I mean, he's a fucking burning angel of death bursting through this door into the throne room, wiping out eons of tech and human personal knowledge. And I mean, it does say in both of these books, this set the Emperor back massively. And then forget that, the Webway itself was opened, and that introduced the war in the Webway, and the horde of demons just would not stop after that. Anyways, that'll be what we're covering next, War in the Webway, some of Ra's point of views. So let me know what you think. If you think that Magnus was doing the right thing, but did it the wrong way, let us know. If you've never heard if you've never heard those descriptions of Magnus entering the portal and the Webway before like that, let us know. A lot of people don't seem to understand how truly fucking bad it was. So, anyways, get down in the comments. Let us know what you'd like to hear. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Let us know if you'd heard this or this type of version of Magnus and explained this way before. Be sure and hit that subscribe and like button. I'm Marlon with Marlon's 420. We'll be back real soon. Thank y'all very much. Cheers.